guys, it's Robbo here and welcome to another Ark Survival Evolved video. This video I'm going to be basically covering structures, your first three structures being thatch, wood and stone. I'm going to save metal for its own video because there's a lot to go in with metal structures, so we'll get started straight away. When you're first starting out the game, you're going to build yourself a thatch house. Don't try and make it a permanent house. This is about all you want in here. You want a bed. Until you can make a bed, you want to try and at least get a sleeping bag in here. Personally, I'd put a bed in and I'd put a sleeping bag outside somewhere. Thatch can be taken down really easily. Like, I could walk straight up to the door now and start damaging it quite easily with a metal hatchet, so anyone can get in. All you want's a couple of fireplaces. I always take a dodo or two into my thatch hut to start with. They'll lay eggs, you can eat the eggs. A chest, maybe two chests, mortar and pestle, couple of fires. You don't need much more than that. It doesn't need to be any bigger than this. I've seen new players construct massive and elaborate thatch structures, and it's just, you're wasting a lot of your time. You want to be moving straight onto wood, so we'll go over to the wood base next. This can be semi-permanent. This is where you're actually starting to get established. You're going to start to get a couple of decent dinos. You're actually going to, put a bit more effort into this base. So we'll go straight inside. First thing you'll notice is I've got two doors here. It's wood doors. You can still take them down with a hatchet. Takes a little bit longer, but I'll always put two doors in. Most players will always go to try and take down a wooden door rather than a wooden wall. So I go one door, I'll put a second door in, and then opposite that first door I put in a hatchway. So if someone's coming in at this stage, more than likely you've got a bow. You may even be lucky enough to have a simple pistol or a simple shotgun, something like that. If you happen to be online when they're coming in, they break down the door, you can just stand here and shoot them, no worries. So we've got two refining forges. You can actually double stack refining forges, which I'll show you in the stone base if you wanted to put more in here, but I don't really see the need. As I said, this is more permanent, but I still don't try and stay in a wooden base for long. Most, carnivores, Rexes, Spinos, Carnos, obviously Gigas, can still munch this base away. I've got a smithy in, I've got two campfires. Again, I only always generally run two campfires until I get into a permanent setup, and I'll explain that later. Three mortar and pestles. At this stage, you're going to be trying to do a bit more narcotics, maybe a bit of cementing paste, gunpowder and spark powder if you manage to get a gun going. Now, we've got two beds here. You can place the beds straight underneath the ladders because you don't glitch out on beds, you can walk straight through them. We'll go upstairs. This is pretty much storage, so we've got two preserving bins, you can chuck some storage in. We've got four windows just looking out around the base. Personally, I never ever put windows in corners, because if there's two or more of you in the base and a window's in the corner here, and you're shooting out a window here, your friend's shooting out a window here, and someone's standing out that side looking in the window, they can see both of yous. Whereas if you're shooting in out of a window here, it's very hard for them to see you through another window other than maybe this one that's directly behind you. And even then, they can't see people if they're at the side windows. Yeah, so that's about it for the wooden base. I'll put a little bit of a pen on the side, which I'll go downstairs and show you. It's nothing elaborate, as I said. This is just to keep your first few dinos in, a trike, raptor. Maybe even by this stage you'll be trying to get a Doedicurus. I'd chuck a feeding trough in here. Just, it's very simple. Walls don't have to be massively high. Too high will be enough. 3 high will keep Rexes out, but as I said, Rexes will munch through wood, so it makes no difference. You're basically just trying to keep out little dinos, and you can actually spike the outside of these walls if you want to keep out the smaller pest dinos like raptors and dillos and stuff like that. So I'll move down here to the stone base now. I've got this base built, and then I've got an example wall to show you as well. This is another design for a wall. We come in here. Now, you'll notice that I've got the metal gate in the stone frame. Now, this actually makes the gates a lot stronger. It takes them from taking around 4 grenades to get into the base to around, I think it's 27 to go through a metal door. And you can fit a metal door in a stone dino frame. You can also fit a metal standard door in a stone door frame. I'll show you around the outside of the base. That's the other thing I was about to point out. You can actually walk Rexes straight through these doors. They will glitch through. Spinos won't, Mammoths won't, Gigas won't, Quetzals won't fit through these doors. Just about everything else will that I can think of off the top of my head right now. You can fit a Rex in here quite comfortably. Like, this isn't a massive base, but you can fit dinos in quite comfortably. It's all walled off. I personally put walls all the way around. I don't connect up to the side of the building. Down this side here, I'll always try and keep it wall close to the base and put in my little garden. I haven't seeded it or anything. This is just an example base. I'll put my wall in close here. I've got compost bins. I've got a double stack of compost bins. Now, as you can see, we've got some defences up, some plant turrets. I'll just go into fly mode, and we'll go up and we'll have a quick look at that. As you can see, we've got some plant turrets there. I'll show you an example. Because I've built this right on the water's edge, I can pick up my water from underneath where my crop plots are. So this is how I'll place plant turrets on the water side of my base, just on a single pillar with a ceiling on top of it. I can place plant turrets on top of the ceiling, covering my vegetables. Now, I always try and cover my vegetables because I've often had people come in try to steal them. And obviously plant turrets on the roof. As you can see, standard dino gates you can place plant turrets on top of, which is quite handy. And then I've got this few out there on the ground just as an example. I've got another wall, another outer wall I'll show you over there shortly, which I believe is a better design. Personally, I use it in all my stone bases. So we'll just go inside and we'll have a look. This base has pretty much everything you need bar... Well, pretty much everything you need. You got four forges. Like, I... Honestly, if I'm going to start building a metal base, I'll have 6 forges. You've got 2 preserving bins, because, I mean, you've got vegetables. You're going to be starting to make kibble. I've got 4 fires. Now, I have fires for charcoal, basically. You can use cooking pots. I've just chucked a cooking pot inside as well. And also, you'll see I've thrown a tap through the wall. Depending on how big you make this base, you can make it one longer, put your cooking pot up here. You can put your cooking pot down here and put a tap right next to it. I always try to put my cooking pot right next to a water source, a permanent water source, not running off tanks. You can see here where I've connected the water into the ground. That's my pickup pipe there. We'll go back inside. We'll go back to the other side of the base. I keep this pretty simple. So I've got mortar and pestles lined up behind the smithy there. I keep my smithy out from the wall like that. I never place it flat up against a wall, because quite often, if you look, your drop items and repair items are right next to each other. So you'll put something on there to repair it. You'll go to hit repair. You'll accidentally hit drop, and it can drop over the back of the smithy, and you'll have to pull out walls or pull down your smithy to get it. I've had it happen quite a few times. So out here, we have a small dino pen built onto the side. Now, as you can see, it's got plenty of room. We've got an RG in here. We've got a cat in here. You could quite easily fit something else in here. With the space that's outside, we could fit in, you know, Anklos, Doedicurus. Probably by the stage of building this, you're going to have a Doedicurus. And also, I'll point out that on one of these walls, you could also put in a behemoth gate if you made the wall a bit bigger and get a mammoth in here comfortably. Like, there's plenty of room for a mammoth. The problem with them is they just don't fit through a standard dino door. Now, we'll go up and have a look. I door my ladders. Now, it might seem funny, but this means that people have to blow the door off to get to the ladder. I always only use wooden ladders, because in blowing the door or the wall to get to the ladder, 90% of the time they'll blow up that ladder and they won't be able to get upstairs anyway, even with the trapdoor there. The trapdoor there's simply because if they come in from the roof, they don't have easy access to the bottom. Same deal, they've got to blow a trapdoor, or they've got to blow out a ceiling. So upstairs you can see we've got fridge, generator, fabricator, air conditioner. Now these are just examples, you don't have to put all this in. This is just an example of what you can fit up here. I've got 3 beds. Generally in a base, a stone base, it's pretty permanent for me until I'm going to start building a metal base. So I'll put a few beds in for respawning purposes. You've got room over here to put chests in. You can put your fridge downstairs and put chests in. You don't have to necessarily have an air conditioner. It really helps at the moment with the Winter Wonderland event that is currently running, which is actually over tonight. So we'll go back downstairs. That's pretty much it. It's pretty well everything that you need. You can put a few more storage chests there. You don't have to have that many campfires. You can take them out. You can take preserving bins out, put them outside on a platform or upstairs, and put a put a grill in there. There's plenty of room. It looks like it's slightly cluttered, but I've just thrown in things as a bit of an example. Now, just as a bit of a bonus, I'm going to show you an example wall that I have designed over here. I've actually, borrowed this design off a few friends, changed it slightly myself. So this here in the middle is just this is our base. This is just an example of a base. So this is how we design our wall, and it's all square to the base perfectly. It's just ceilings and pillars, and it may seem a little strange, but you'll understand once we get to the other section. So you place your ceilings, you place your pillars. Now, you'll notice here that people are going to be able to crawl under the wall, but we can address that in a minute, which I'll show you around the other side. It all depends on where your wall's situated. This is a completed wall. People can't crawl under it. The walls actually drop from the ceiling to the ground, as you can see here on the side. Now, the beauty of this wall is being able to place plant turrets halfway up the wall instead of on the ground. Now, the reason this is so good is because it keeps people from throwing grenades and actually blowing the plant turrets up. They have to try and walk a dino in, or they have to be able to get the grenades on top of that one ceiling, which is very, very difficult, might I add. The spikes are placed like that. I won't always do it, but that makes it very hard for them to walk a Rex or something up. You can use metal spikes if you want. And as you can see here, when I fly up a little way, you can see this is a completed wall. Because it's placed, the wall's built from ceilings and not from fence foundations, you can actually place ceilings hanging off the side of the wall, so you can place plant turrets on it, and you can place ceilings across the top, so you can place plant turrets on top as well. We'll drop down again, we'll go for a walk inside. Because dino doors are 2 foundations wide, you can just leave out 2 ceiling sections. Now this here is where there's a gap under the wall, so you can actually place stone fence foundations along the outside and place walls on them. Or you can actually place stone foundations to fill the gaps and place lower plant turrets. That choice is up to you. Now, the other good thing about this wall is the pillars. You'll notice I've got the pillars every space, which I don't need to. You can put them every second. The idea of putting them every space is that if people blow up an outer wall, they can't get Rexes through. They can't physically walk Rexes through those pillars without blowing up more pillars. The other good thing about this is if someone blows the bottom ceiling here, the bottom wall I mean, it won't drop the whole wall. It won't damage the whole wall. Even if they blow them up all the way along, it won't damage the whole wall, because the whole thing is held up by all the pillars inside, all the extra pillars, and it's all off that top ceiling. So effectively, they've got to take out 2 sets of pillars. Well, actually, they've got to take out 3 sets of pillars, 3 ceilings at the bottom, and or 3 ceilings at the top to get this to get a hole in the wall, which makes it a lot harder to get through. I mean, it's a bit more of a difficult build, but it makes it a lot harder to get through. And you can actually double wall the inside of this as well. What I'll do is I build this wall, and then when I'm going to make it to metal, the first thing I do is replace the pillars. I'll replace the pillars, then I replace the ceilings, then I replace the lower outer section of wall, and as I start replacing the lower outer section of wall, the inside, I make it all stone. So it's actually double layered wall as well. And yeah, I've found it to be very effective for keeping people out, keeping Rexes out, and bigger dinos out especially. It's more resources to build, but when you're getting to the time of building large stone structures, having a good wall is invaluable, I think. So, as I said, I'll be covering metal base design, metal buildings, metal walls in the next episode. I'll probably show you an example of this wall in metal as well, once it's fully metalled. But yeah, that's about it for this guide. Make sure you like the video if you like it. You can dislike it if you dislike it, subscribe, and there'll be plenty more videos to come.